Windward Island Airways Captain Roger Hodge retires after 30 years of service. President of WIFO says every worker should have a contract. And Minister of TEAT presents her key policy actions. Those are the headlines for Monday, October the 26th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, Minister of TEAT, the Honorable Ludmila de Wever, in her PowerPoint presentation of October the 21st, presented her key policy actions, which includes streamlining business licensing and policy-making processes, reduce the cost of living, and assisting MSME in acquiring funding and export activities.
The Ministry of TEAT is focused on key policy actions that build on the themes outlined above, such as improving the quality of public services by executing the recommendations of the General Audit Chamber for streamlining the efficiency of business license applications. A critical part of our vibrant economy is how quickly one can do business in it. Streamlining and digitizing of the business license process is a priority in helping the pace of economic recovery. Additionally, the ministry has taken action on imposing maximum prices on basic and necessary goods. In addition, draft consumer protection legislation is underway to further protect consumers from unfair trade practices. Recently, the Enterprise Recovery Program by the NRPB launched with the assistance of local financial institutions. However, qualifying for loans and grants may be difficult for some first-time applicants. Therefore, the Ministry of TEAT created an MSME policy framework and is partnering with support agencies that can assist applicant success rates in receiving funding to help maximize the success of the ERP and its positive socioeconomic impact. The ministry also discussed with the NRPB the possibility of reserving a minimum of 10 million guilders from the program to put towards financing entrepreneurs or organizations willing to venture into areas of tourism diversification and potential export-driven activities. Examples of tourism and export diversification areas include the arts tourism, what we referred to earlier as orange economy, agri-tourism, small breweries or distilleries, including home porting, legalization of cannabis, and foreign exchange earning industry. The government should encourage business with export and foreign exchange earning potential. Right now, St. Martin has 3 beer breweries. A reduced water tariff for these enterprises has been approved, but this is why we're further looking into tariffs overall in order to encourage such businesses to survive.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament, the Honourable Claudius Van-Kamper, responding to the Minister of TEAT's presentation, says that a lot of these things that the Minister presented are not in hand's reach today. He wanted to, however, focus on the rapid antigen testing.
Mr. Chairman, that was a very impressive and very extensive presentation. Mr. Chairman, a lot of those things are not in hand's reach of today's problem. We need to be able to fix today to be able to live tomorrow. Mr. Chairman, I am going to focus on a few things. I want to focus on the rapid antigen testing, Mr. Chairman. It is the testing mechanism we have been talking about. Months ago, it came up. There were many reasons, especially in the health world, why it shouldn't be done, the inaccuracies that it had. I want to state today that on October 7th, 2020, it was approved 2 rapid antigen tests methodologies were approved in the Netherlands by the Minister of Health, Hugo de Jonge, and that was the Abbott and the SD biosensor rapid antigen testing. Now, I believe I understood in the newspaper from Brussels, or the Brussels, that the Netherlands bought 2 million SD biosensors already that they are going to start using for testing. And my question is very simple. If the RIVM is okay with it, what is our issue down here with using it? Mr. Chairman, I believe that when you listen to the French State Secretary of Transport, Mr. Jabari, he too, by the end of this month, will on every airport of French soil have the rapid antigen tests. So my question is, did we already reach out to the French side and ask them, okay, you all are going to be doing this testing. What's your protocols? Let's make sure we have the same protocols so we don't have a border closure again on our hands because of differences of opinion of who's allowed in and who's not allowed in, what tests we can use, what tests we can't use, that these things happen. Mr. Chairman, I want to focus on what we can do now, not what we can do next year. Otherwise, we will survive. Correctly, we will survive the crisis, but the people will starve in the process.
And Member of Parliament, the Honourable Rayon Peterson, also queried the Minister of Finance, the Minister of VSA, and the Minister of TEAT on the short and medium-term financial, social, economic outlook and solutions for St. Martin. The Member of Parliament had several questions for the three ministers.
I would like to start off by addressing the Minister of Finance, through you, Mr. Chairman. Part of the SSRP support program, it was to keep people employed. And that part of the now canceled bond loan issue was reportedly to finance part of the SSRP, while the labor law remains as inflexible and outdated. So therefore, one of my questions to the Minister of Finance, through you, Mr. Chairman, is when will St. Martin be in compliance with the conditions set for the second tranche of liquidity support, as according to State Secretary Knops, that we now have a 4-week window to resolve the second tranche conditions and our maturing loan. As MP Baum Camperso rightfully stated, there has been a lot of confusion these last couple of weeks. Given all the information and most of all the confusion surrounding the bond that we wish to float, from a legal point of view, I would like to ask the following to the Minister, to you, Mr. Chairman. What was the advice from the Department of Legal Affairs, if they gave one, on the bond issuance? Second question, did any other local legal firms advise on this same subject? Are you aware of any other objective external advices? And do they share the same sentiment as the Department of Legal Affairs? And if so, can these also be shared with Parliament for our information? And lastly, I want to know which of these advices was decisive for the course that was taken in regards to this bond. Those are my questions for the Minister of Finance. You, Mr. Chairman, I now want to move to the Ministry of VSA. To the Minister of VSA, Mr. Chairman, through you. According to the IMF and the CBCS, pressing structural reforms are urgently required and have been for years for our economy to function in an optimal manner. These reports also go further than just tax reform. Two specific points in the reports are the outdated labor laws and outdated taxation. While we can definitely applaud the move towards tax reform, which has been pending for years, the reports also indicate that outdated labor laws are a big factor that negatively impact our economy. Therefore, to you, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the Minister of VSA, what measures were being taken to add flexibility to the labor law so that companies can adjust to the new normal and ensure a better chance of survival by bringing labor costs in line with revenue? And also, what is government intending to provide as an immediate social safety net, and how will that be funded? Another area that is very important for us to remember is the food situation on the island. We remain very busy with the political side of things, but in the meanwhile, the situation for food has not improved since the start of the pandemic. And our people need to eat and should not have to worry about having food tomorrow.
And still to come, Member of Parliament for the UPP presents motion. We'll have the detail to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now, in the continuation of its public meeting of October the 23rd, 2020, the Parliament of St. Martin voted and approved the motion presented by MP Omar E.C. Otley with 11 votes for and 3 votes against. The motion resolves for the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, to immediately explore the possibility of adjusting the admittance policy to the country as follows. Implement the use of antigen rapid tests on St. Martin's port of entries. Travelers will need to pay a fixed fee to the government of St. Martin as a contribution towards the cost of the testing. Insurance and COVID treatment capabilities in St. Martin. It also resolves for the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, TEAT, and Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, to create a policy for a safe and responsible way of allowing the crew members of the cruise ships docked at the harbor to disembark as visitors, that the government is to allow businesses to reopen at their regular opening hours, but with strict adherence to the health code and bi-weekly inspection by controllers, and to report back to Parliament with these advices within 1 week, seeing the urgency and the immediate need for action. After the clarification by MP Otley, the motion was put to a vote.
My first clarification is for the Minister of TEAT. I noticed that you said the supervisory board is in the process of doing the evaluation. Why is this a supervisory board and not the holding company or the holding board? For they are in charge of the management. Based on the motion that was presented in Parliament, it was asked for evaluation to be done on the entire supervisory board and on the management staff. So please look into this. My next clarification is for the Minister of VSR. I too am very confused. I'm a bit disappointed because the questions are not being answered. They're direct questions. We are on the brink of crisis and we need an answer. And yes, a motion is coming and we need to know, is the government, by extension, you, Minister of VSR, because you are in charge, will you apply the antigen rapid test once this motion is hopefully passed?
MP George Pantoflet.
For Mr. Chairman.
MP Rayon Peterson.
Against, Mr. Chairman.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
For Mr. Chairman.
MP Angelique Ramu.
For Mr. Chairman.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
Against, Mr. Chairman.
MP Akeem Arundel.
For, Mr. Chairman. For.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
For.
MP Claudius Boncamper.
For.
MP Solange Duncan.
For.
MP Christophe Emmanuel. MP Melissa Gums.
Against, Mr. Chairman.
MP Grisha Heiliger Martin.
For.
MP William Marlin.
For.
MP Omar Otley,
4.
Chairman Rolando Bryson,
4.
11 votes for, 3 votes against.
And in other news at this time, President of WIFO, Theophilus Thompson, is adamant that every worker should have a contract, be it an individual contract or a collective labor contract. There is no one outside those parties that can infringe or violate those rights. Mr. Thompson made a statement at the St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform press conference on Thursday last, October the 22nd, 2020, when he stressed that employees should not sign any contract that comes from anywhere else.
Every worker has a contract. There are two types of contract between workers and employers. It's either an individual contract or a collective labor contract, or CLA. There's no one outside of those parties can violate or infringe on those rights. And when we stress the fact that employees should not sign any documentation that comes from the SZV or anyone outside of the employer or the union circle, that's within their rights and our rights to give that kind of instructions. Therefore, we see a number of stores in Phillipsburg have closed their doors under the pretense that they can't get the subsidy from government for their payroll or payroll support program, because some workers are not signing those documents. They're actually exercising their rights, and we are encouraging them not to sign those documents. The other thing is that talking to the unions, as I mentioned earlier, is imperative. We have some companies like Oyster Bay Beach Resort who didn't need any subsidy report because of timeshare obligations to the resort, cut workers' salaries, and there are court cases pending with regards to that. All companies that have cut workers' salaries under the pretense that they were given instructions from the SZV, which are wrong and illegal, it means that, and we have asked those workers to make those reports to the union's office as well as to the labor office, because workers' rights must be respected. The next thing I want to bring forward is unemployment agencies. According to the ILO Convention on Private Employment Agencies, the way how these outsourced companies here in St. Martin's are operating, they are also operating illegal based on workers' rights and international treaties and conventions that they should abide with.
Meanwhile, member of the SMAP, Dr. Anders Raymond Jesuroen, spoke about changes in the labor law agreement. He wanted to know where the Minister of VSA and Finance got the authority to change labor agreements between workers and employers. That subsidy ordinance, according to Mr. Jesuroen, is non-existent.
The ministerial decree is not based on any subsidy ordinance for businesses who are in business to make profit. Furthermore, the labor agreement is an agreement between the employer and the employee, where in the law the Minister of Finance and the Minister of VSA got the authority to change labor agreements between workers and employers. That subsidy ordinance is not existent. Any agreement presented to the employees by employers, drafted by SZV for the employer and the workers to sign, for the employer to qualify for the payroll support program for the months since June 2020, the employees have the right to refuse to sign. The employee cannot be obliged to sign and accept this change in his labor agreement in accordance to the Civil Code. The salaries of the workers of June and July had to be paid already in full at the end of that month, at the same amount as in January and in February of this year, according to their labor agreement. So this cannot be unilaterally be violated by the employer. Employers in the Netherlands and in the best islands, they get subsidy support for COVID without workers having to sign to subsidize their employer with a 20% salary cut. By signing this draft agreement presented by SZV, the worker is accepting to change his labor agreement temporarily for 1 month, which passed already. SZV is saying that the 20% cut in the wage salary of the month that passed has to be implemented in a future month. By signing the SZV template, workers are agreeing with a 20% cut in their remuneration to subsidize the employer's payroll each time for 1 month, which passed long time.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for October 26, 2020. Brisk winds associated with a dominant Atlantic high-pressure system as well as an approaching tropical wave are expected to transport showers across the local area during this forecast period. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise extreme caution as marine conditions are expected to peak up to 10 feet before gradually subsiding by midweek. So the outlook through Wednesday midday, partly cloudy to cloudy and breezy with isolated showers. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Clyde Van Putten of St. Eustatia says that one of his first priorities is to ensure the full restoration of the island's democracy. And I'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And as we continue now with more news in this COVID-related item, as of October the 25th, there were 4 persons who tested positive for COVID-19, increasing the total number of active cases to 57. The total number of confirmed cases is now 784. The Collective Prevention Services, CPS, are monitoring 50 people in home isolation. 6 patients are hospitalized at the St. Martin Medical Center, and 1 patient is isolated and being monitored. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 22. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin remains at 705. 125 people are in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by CPS of persons who may have been in contact with any of the active cases. CPS has tested 1,166 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana International Airport and 4,825 people throughout the community. As the numbers continue to fluctuate, CPS will continue to actively execute its contact tracing measures. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister Panafleck urges all to continue and remain cautious by wearing your masks in public, practice the 2-meter social distancing, sanitize and wash your hands frequently, and refrain from mass gatherings. And now in news out of St. Eustatius, indications that the newly elected members of the new Island Council of St. Eustatius, namely Clyde Van Putten, Richelieu Leerdam, and Ruben Merkman from the PLP, and Adelka Spanner and Nicholas Coe-Snake of the Democratic Party, will be sworn in this week. The swearing-in ceremony is likely to take place on Thursday, October the 29th. Speaking to the Voice of St. Martin's News Department, incoming Island Councilman Clyde Van Putten says that one of his first priorities is to ensure the full restoration of the island's democracy.
We definitely will be approaching the Dutch government where we will be, working together with them to find ways and means where we can have an earlier restoration as opposed to what they have on table. Because we have taken note, even in the final days of the campaign, where the Democratic Party had touted and said that if they won the election, that maybe as early as next year, March, that they could have the full restoration. And they decided that it could have been before, but based on the COVID pandemic situation, that it may have delayed the process until March of next year. Well, if they made that statement, then I assume they had a reassurance from some quarters in the Netherlands. But again, I would hope that the Dutch Parliament and the Dutch government would learn to appreciate and respect what the voting public of Statia said in the election of Wednesday last, and that as a part of the international community, especially the Security Council of the United Nations, that has as one of its mantra the promotion of democratic institutions, I would hope that that same policy, would be respected and will be executed in one of its own territories, which is in Statia. So we look forward, like I said, to have that done. And of course, there are many other areas, the pandemic situation, the impact that it have on the short term and eventually the long term, because while the Dutch is pumping in money, and I say this with some ambiguities because we also are paying taxes, but they have been assisting because of the economic downturn, where a lot of tourists and other activities is no longer the case. But I'm a realist, and I do not expect that the Netherlands will continue to be that nice Santa Claus, if I could use that term, and continue to pump in money to these islands, because if anybody knows the Dutch, it isn't nothing for nothing.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, after 30 years of service with our national airline, Windward Islands Airways, Winair, Captain Roger Hodge has retired. Roger Hodge began his career with Winair back in 1990 and continued with the airline until his retirement this year. He served in Winair's flight department, beginning as a first officer, and rose through the ranks quickly to become the company's most senior captain. In his many accomplishments, it included training instructor, check airmen, and most importantly, sharing his knowledge through tutoring and developing the airline's junior pilots. He showed them through example what it means to be a pilot. His passion, commitment, and love of flying complemented his work. This resulted in him taking people under his wing, sharing his knowledge and skill, resulting in many of Winair's staff being better employees and people. We here at SXM Daily News would like to congratulate Captain Hodge and thank him for his many years of service. It is now time for you to enjoy a well-deserved retirement.
Keep on doing what you're doing best. Be safe at all times. Okay? We'll somehow meet each other again.
On behalf of the management of the airport, I would like to say thank you for the 30 years of safe, dedicated service. I calculate those 30 years in the amount of landings that you have done, and multiply that by at least $30 each passenger had to pay.
I'll be a rich man, but
you made a significant contribution to the economy,
correct,
and by extension, the airport expansion.
Okay, great.
For that, we want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope that the others that you have trained, and if I look around, I see probably, if not most, if all of them.
I didn't even know we had that many pilots.
Cleveland doesn't have an excuse and he doesn't have pilots.
Exactly, yes.
You left the substance behind.
Exactly, yeah.
Again, thank you on behalf of the airport.
Thank you.
And best wishes in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for tuning in this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.